Hey everyone, welcome back to Lawyers Mediators International Show and Podcast, where we talk about the law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Today I have back with me a professional, Robert Bergman. Bob Bergman, how are you doing today, Bob?
I'm doing great. So,
Thank you. Thank you for coming back. And it's been a while.
sure.
I'm going to take my glasses off because of the glare, but it's been a while. You were on this show back in March 2024 where in our screen share where we were talking about your last product, next level mediation. And
Right.
so folks are encouraged to go back in time to episode 241. We are in episode 300 something now, and check that video out. And it was good to have you talk about decision making and AI and just conflict resolution and how to use technology to help people resolve disputes online. And so you're a big name in the ODR community. And so just last month, for example, you and I met up at Harvard University. We were
Right.
attending the NCTDR conference, the international conference on online dispute resolution. And it was the first time meeting you in person. And I sat in one of your trainings that you were doing, and that was on PII Anomalyzer. So we're going to talk about that
Right.
today and get a little bit of education from you about something that's becoming more and more of a big deal now. And that is all the information and data we are putting up in the cloud in the age of AI now, is going to impact us and our clients and our customers in pretty big
Right.
ways. And for conflict resolvers and mediators and arbitrators, the same thing is going to apply. And so we can't escape this. And so you are here to talk to us about what your company is doing about this. And so I will screen share so that people can know a little bit about what we're going to discuss. But I'm going to give
Okay.
you the floor and just have you describe what is PII Anomalyzer, and then we'll go into the details and you can share a demo of the product later on. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, one of the things we found in doing next level mediation is that there was resistance to using AI, and we had introduced mediation, and we introduced the AI technology at the end of 2022 before anybody else had done it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
And what we found is there was a resistance because of the potential loss of confidentiality, although people hadn't experienced AI much at that point, and so I think it was just a feeling, not a reality.
Yeah.
And over time, we discovered that it is a reality. We looked into it, and we decided that in order to protect people from uploading the wrong information to AI, we developed some software to remove personally identifiable information from documents so that you could use it safely. And that's
Gotcha.
kind of how we got here. Right.
Yes. Well, it was fascinating because it was my first time seeing it in action when you were demoing this at Harvard, at the treehouse, that we were all
Right.
at. And so I'd like for you to just share it with the broader audience now, because one of the things about these conferences we attend, we all talk to each other. And my big thing whenever I do these podcast episodes is to get this kind of information out to the masses so that
Right.
regular people can know what's going on and and what can be done for them. Um, I have a feeling that people don't know the problems that they have until you sometimes point it out. And this is one
Exactly.
of them. This is one of them. Okay, so I know you had a long history in engineering and just a lot of computer work. When you were explaining the things you had done, when we first met almost a couple of years ago, it was a little bit over my head, some of it. All right. And so, can you just take us back briefly about your background? And then, how does your background, how did that lead to this new tool, the Analyzer tool?
Right. So the background, and just so we don't have to guess my age, I'm 79 now. And so I was uh, experienced the first AI bot in 1967
Hmm.
at MIT called Elijah and played the role of a Rogerian psychotherapist. My background was basically in mathematics, decision science, and kind of a long history in the defense business and then managing Intel's decision science group for 28, 29 years, right?
Yeah.
And of course, for those who don't know, decision science is kind of a combination of mathematics and behavioral psychology.
Yeah.
And so the way it played a role in mediation software that we built was that we defined the resolution of a dispute essentially as a multi-criteria decision between two or more parties that have different agendas. And so, therefore, in decision science, this fits very well into what we call social choice theory or group decision making. And so, we used methodologies that are in line with kind of social choice theory and understand each of the parties' priorities, do some analytics, and then feed that information into AI and help the neutral basically come up with some ideas that fit each of the parties' real priorities, not their emotional wants. So it forces people to do a little more critical thinking rather than just whine about their situation. The other part of decision science we used was game theory, which there's a particular algorithm called the adjusted winner algorithm that we use to do fair division of assets or issues. And so the combination of those things is what we applied to online dispute resolution.
Yes.
So
Well, this is
hopefully
what I
that.
meant. This is what I meant when I said over my head. A lot of this, when we're talking about like getting to yes, or some of the psychology behind why people, you know, I guess make offers and settle at the rates they do. There's a lot of really deep science behind it all. And when it comes to behavioral sciences, that stuff's fascinating to me. I've always been interested, in it. So thank you for your work, because that's helped contribute to next level mediations work. And
Right.
now, based on the feedback, or I guess the observations you made from watching next level be used, you've now come out with the Anomalyzer. And so I'd like for you to share a little bit, with us, because you explained earlier the consequence that caused you to need to develop this. But can you basically show us what it does now?
Okay. So what we did was we imported a file. It goes to your local file system, and we imported this
Hmm.
file called estate screen. Okay, it was a PDF. Now it can
Okay.
handle Word documents, PDF, Excel files, and will handle images as well. So when we import a file, it extracts basically the text out of the file. First thing. You can also look at it in document mode. And in that mode, you can see, for instance, this is what the original document looked like. See, it's
Hmm.
got an embedded image in it. It's got some text in the image itself, and just the normal kind of PDF. It's about an estate kind of dispute in this
Yes.
case. It also, when you import it, it'll find things that are images. And so here you can see, if we click on it, that was one of the images it found.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So first thing we might want to do, if it's a 30, 40 page document, first thing we might want to do is highlight anything that might be personally identifiable. So
Hmm.
without setting any entities selections, and if you scroll down, you can see these are all the identifiers that it'll find automatically. So you can see government IDs, healthcare information, location, digital presence, license plates, train tickets, you name it.
Yeah.
Anything that can identify you. So we'll click on de-identify. We have this extracted text and it'll process it. Okay, so now you see what it's done. It's
Mm-hmm.
highlighted all the things that might be sensitive information in the document, and we can go through the whole thing, even uh,
Yeah,
there. So,
banking, everything. Yeah,
yeah, anything you can find. If we look at it in document mode, you can see the same thing basically, and even highlighted the name that was embedded in the image itself
cool.
because that's sensitive information.
Yep.
Okay. Um, so once we have that, we say, okay, I want to use this for AI. So instead of just highlighting it, because I see I have to do things, we're going to replace that information.
Mm-hmm.
So we click on replace, which is the mode. I'll go back to text mode for a second.
Yep.
And I'll say, okay, de-identify this.
Mm.
Okay, so now what you see in the text is person one, date time
Mm-hmm.
one, social security number one, currency one, anything, tax ID, anything that was sensitive. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, case number is something that doesn't have a regular pattern. Every jurisdiction has a different format for this stuff. So you can't automatically find it. But what
Mm-hmm.
you can do is you can kind of, anything it doesn't find, you can highlight it and you can scroll down to allow deny list, and then deny list
Okay.
will just add it, something it has to deny, right?
Okay.
So then we just click the identify again, and now it will replace it with generic kind of personal information. The
Gotcha.
next thing you want to do, and you can see it in document mode as well, but in document mode, it shortens it so that it can keep the format of the document. Because if you keep the placeholders too long, the whole document kind of loses its format.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so here, even in the picture, it's replaced this with an identifier. And then at the end, it'll give you a list of what these things are.
Yep.
Okay, so once you've done that, you can also look at the results table. So let's go here. And so what it does is it organizes the results in terms of entity type. Okay. And the text that it replaced. Okay. And so you can see everything, what each thing stands for, what it replaced. Now, here's an example of person one is James Patterson, but there's also another name in here called James, which happens to be the same person, but the
Mm-hmm.
name is different. So what you can do here is say, okay, just make him person one
Gotcha.
because it's the same name, only spell it differently. You see now all the Jameses are person one, right?
Mm.
You can filter these out, you can sort them, you can do a variety of things with these. But this gives you an idea roughly of all the things it found. Now, there may be things in here that you want to allow because once you upload it to AI, it might mess up the context if it's not there. So, as an example, I don't know if there's a good example in here,
Mm-hmm.
but let's just say without startups and other businesses doesn't really identify anyone. So we can go in here and we can say, okay, we're going to allow this. So it won't get de-identified in the document when we export it. So we'll allow it. And so if you look back in the allow list, that will show up as well. So
Okay.
now we've kind of edited our document in this case, and we would maybe export the results to let's to a directory. So let's find a directory we want to use. Uh, let's see, desktop. Uh, let's see. Here we'll go here to de-identified results. Okay. We'll select this folder and we'll say export it. Okay, it only takes milliseconds because it's never left your computer. Okay. Okay. Now, if we look at that particular file, we'll go look for where we put this information. And here we see, for instance, if we just look at the text, you can see all of the personal information's replaced with tokens that are semantically consistent with the context so that it makes sense to AI. Okay.
Yes.
You'll see the same thing as PDF. And along with it, you'll get an Excel file.
Okay.
And if we look at the Excel file, you can see it has basically all of the information. So you can always find what replaced what. Here are the identifiers, here's the text, here's where it found it in the document, and here's the confidence level. Now, the way this works is it has two different AI models, one for name recognition and then one for context position. So it combines the two to determine the confidence level in the system. And so why do you do that? You do that because of words have multiple meanings. So,
Yeah.
for instance, the word bank could be a financial institution, could be the side of a river, could be a turn in an airplane. It could be a reinforcement that something's going to happen. I'm going to bank on that, right?
Yeah.
So, without knowing the context, you can't really determine whether something is sensitive information or not. So you
Yeah.
combine both models together and you get a confidence level in the output.
Okay.
So this is one way. And once you've basically de-identified that we have the directory now with the text and with the PDF that have been changed, you can upload that to whatever AI model you want and ask whatever questions you want. And you might get something back, for instance, that has these identifiers in it. And so what you can do from the AI, you'll just copy that information from the prompt. You go to re-identification, you'll paste it in, and then we would say re-identify, and it'll replace it with the right strings. So you can
Okay.
see what came back with AI.
I
All
see.
of this happens locally on your computer. Nothing happens in the cloud. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's lots of different kinds of forms. We've trained this with, I think, over 11,000 different forms. But for example, now let's say we have something more complicated like a health report. We want to load
Yeah.
that in. It's going to go ahead and extract the text. The complicated thing about processing forms is you have to understand the position of a piece of information physically on a form. So you can make sense of the context. So it takes a little while to process that information. And you can see on the scroll bar here, giving you roughly the status of the information. It'll be finished in a second. Okay, it's finished. So it's extracted the text. If we look at the document, we can see it's a health form, for instance.
Yep.
And you can see all the information in the form. Now, if you're worried about HIPAA, for example, you would certainly go ahead and say, let's de-identify this. And so we would just go ahead. Let's go to text mode for now. And we're going to replace this information again with placeholders that are semantically consistent that fit within the form. So we'll see this in a second. It's going to process the form. Now, the system also handles scanned in documents. So it does its own kind of OCR. so it can figure out what things are. So if we look in document mode, let me just go back here. You can see it's replaced person names. This used to be a URL. Those are replaced. And all the sensitive information is replaced on the form. Images, it's found quite a few images. So here's an image, for instance. Partners, personally, we don't want that to go out. So we would say, okay, let's deny this. So now if we look at the document, you'll see that's been denied. And you can go through whatever images make sense. And you can deny them one at a time. So you have a lot of control over the information. If we look at results table, there's obviously a lot of URLs. You can sort by the identifier. You can also sort by the confidence level. So for instance, you can see by confidence level, we put the highest confidence, we sorted it by first, and then the lower confidence levels. But in most cases, everything fits within a standard deviation that makes sense. So this gives you, again, a complete picture of what's in there. You can now export the text and you can do whatever kinds of AI questioning and prompting you want on text. You work your normal way and you'll get back reasonable results, and you haven't given up any kind of private information.
Yeah, so that will be the workflow you would imagine that the person who's going to be working with this information, who wants to use Claude, who wants to use ChatGPT or Gemini, would first have the Anomalyzer. They will, I want to say the word redact. It's not really redacting.
Well, you can do redacting also, by the way. So instead of say you wanted to mail it out, okay? Instead of just uploading it to AI, well, then you would click to redact instead and let it go process the form.
Yeah. The thing about redacting is it doesn't really maintain context.
Exactly.
Right? If there's so much data that's gone, you're left guessing, what are they talking about?
Yeah, AI will have the same problem. It won't be able to do anything. So what will wind up happening, but here, for instance, we redacted stuff because we want to email it out. Of course, we've redacted everything, but we can again select just what we want, right? Let's just deselect everything. And let's just worry about names, email addresses, maybe phone numbers, and maybe
names is unchecked. I think you went too fast.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Names, and let's say we don't want any medical conditions, medical licenses. Okay, so let's do it again. And this allows you, especially if you have 20, 30 pages, you do not want to be doing this by hand.
Yeah.
This just takes too much work and you can make too many mistakes.
So you could just use it as a redaction tool for itself for that simple purpose, right?
Exactly. Okay. So if you have to submit stuff, to a district court, you do have to redact the names. You have to initialize, children's initials, not their names. You have to get rid of email addresses and that stuff, right? Yeah. So here we just did the names and medical conditions, and you can see.
Okay.
Now you can export this and send it to someone.
Yeah, so for the purpose of just redaction. But if you want to have AI work with a document and give it full context, you're able to replace information with, I guess, can you replace it with suggested data or just fake and artificial names?
No, not right now. And the reason for that is if you let people pick artificial names, it could actually be a real name.
Exactly. True. There's
You
a
know,
real John Doe somewhere in the world. You know that, right?
that's the problem. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, um, but then if you let people change the identities to things they want, they may not remain consistent, and
Mm,
that becomes a problem for AI. So, and then
yeah.
of course it can do other things too. For instance, we can extract this. Let me process that. So this is just
Hmm.
photograph, right? And let's
Yeah.
just say I want to read. So it'll take out the
Okay.
names. So
Okay.
kind of have
Well,
your
yeah. I
choice.
mean, the AI tool makes this very fast, and it quickly recognizes the information that might be confidential
Right.
instead of doing
And
it
then
by
you can
hand.
choose what you want to look for, and it'll
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that's the basic idea of why we did this, so that people
Hmm.
can still use AI,
Yeah.
but remove things that potentially violate
Yeah.
one of the laws. You know, it could be the Child Protection Act. It could be
Yep.
CCPA in California or
Yeah.
CCPR. It could 20 states have their own privacy laws.
Yeah. No, I remember you
So,
saying that, and that was one of the photos I actually took of your presentation on the PowerPoint presentation. It was a picture of a chart where you listed all the different exhaustive lists of different jurisdictions that deal with privacy, and it's shocking to see. For somebody to have to remember all of that is not possible.
no,
But now with technology, you're able to get something in place that just kind of blankets goes to a thick, thick document like this one time in seconds. So I get the point. I get the reason this is important. And so once a person uses it, now they can feel comfortable to go ahead and upload the updated, de-identified PDF or document into the AI without
right.
fear. Hmm.
Without fear and without, look, one HIPAA violation is $50,000
Yep.
and potentially a criminal
Yep.
violation.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty serious. Yeah. So
you have to,
so use
yeah.
cases, who do you think would be using this mainly? Would it be doctors or attorneys or mediators or all of the above?
People, I think, in compliance oriented businesses. So healthcare, finance,
Yep.
law, mediation, I think are the key uh, industries that have to worry about the penalties of violating
Yeah.
compliance. Um, but, in general, people might, or if they're uploading just their own personal information, and
Mm-hmm.
they may want to remove sensitive information. That's
Correct.
all.
Correct.
So I think that's part
Yeah.
of it. And look, if you're submitting something to a district court, you have to comply with, whatever it is, FRP 2.0, something like that. So you're required to redact names, uh, social security numbers, EIN, VIN numbers on cars. Children's names have to be reduced to just initials.
Yep.
So every one of these, unfortunately, there's no consistency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And And just as a rule, for most industries, look, technology advances at the speed of engineering. Regulation advances at the speed of politics,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
tends to be 20 to 25 years behind the
Very slow.
technology.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. So what do you think if people are, let's say, they're paying for Gemini and Google Workspace, or they're paying for Claude Max? Like I do
mhm,
both, right? I pay money to these LLMs to help me do my work. And in the fine print, it typically says something. Well, if you're paying for it, your data is not being used to train our models, right? That's kind of the
mhm,
trade-off. But
right.
if you use free Google, Gmail, Gemini, it's going to be used to just train whatever. Do you think that's enough where it tells you it's not going to be used to train? Or is there still a concern that makes it necessary to use this?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's something I talked about in the
Mhm.
past, but let me just get rid of this stuff. But can you see the
Yes,
presentation?
sir.
Okay, so here's the problem. Um, Not train is about 5% of the risk. All that's saying is the information we processed, we won't adjust the weights in the model.
Okay.
That's it. That's all you're protecting, which is almost meaningless. The real problem is they store all the information
Mm.
because if they're subpoenaed, they have to produce it.
Hmm.
And so if you look at what happens on a prompt, right, it goes through a number of third parties to get it processed, safety classifiers. You know, think about it. You have a contract with OpenAI. That's who you
Hmm.
have a deal with. You say, okay, don't train the model.
Hmm.
Okay, there are sub-processors. So OpenAI has a contract with a data center and a cloud provider. Also has a contract with a safety classifier and people who can look at it. Also has, another contract with uh, a data center somewhere that's storing the information. All right. Those sub-processors can change anytime they want.
Yeah.
Your contract's with OpenAI, not with
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
subcontractors. So it's not,
Hmm.
it's not, it's a big risk still.
Yeah.
And
They still have access.
yeah,
So the whole thing,
and you,
well, I mean, good point. I mean, I didn't think about it that way before. So we've always just been told, well, is it going to train with my data? Like that's what we've kind of been told is the big scare, right? I don't want it to be training with my data. So you're
right,
saying that's actually not the biggest scare. The biggest scare is it's going to
right.
be stored somewhere.
Exactly. It's going to be stored. We don't know for how long. You can't ask anyone to remove it. And you don't know who can look at it for
Yeah.
safety regulations. So there is no privileged information anymore. You've lost control by definition.
Hmm.
So,
Well, it makes me think about email. I've had the same Google Gmail account since 2000, what, 5? Because
mhm,
I remember picking my Google, email name when Google literally launched Gmail back in the mid 2000s. And those emails are still sitting in there, right? They're stored. And I rely on that. I like it there because I need to be able to go back. So there's an
mhm,
importance for me, a benefit to memory and things being stored somewhere. But it comes with a risk. And that is why I
mhm.
guard my password, make sure people cannot, tap into it. Is that what we're going to go into with AI? And is that why then this is so important to de-identifying information?
Yes, once the, again, the 20 to 25 years before regulation catches up to the
Hmm.
technology, right? And so the acceptance of safe storage, like for email, which took a while before it was really accepted,
Hmm.
um, or cloud storage, which is by itself also a big issue that's still being debated. And there'll be, maybe some overarching privacy regulations or something that covers this. I wouldn't hold my breath, to be honest with you. And I think the biggest problem is going to be consolidating where information is, how is it really protected, and what's accepted in the legal sense
Yeah.
of it being, under your control. Because if you can't by yourself go in there and remove something and guarantee it's been removed or
Yeah.
audited,
Yeah.
what can you really say?
Yeah. Well, it says a lot. This is why this is a big deal. This is the only way you can guarantee that PII, personal identifiable information, has been removed by you doing it yourself on your own computer, not somewhere else.
Right,
And then, and only then, you can put it into the cloud and rest securely.
right,
I got it.
exactly.
I got it. So, for folks who want to learn more about this, what's the best place to
Oh,
go? And I'll go ahead and share my screen now.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Yes.
So
So the best place I would assume is the website
yes,
PII Anomalyzer.ai.
yes.
Yes. Can you share a little bit more about people can do it for free trial, they can test it out, see how it works.
Yes, there's a
Is it
7-day
for Mac?
trial.
Mhm. Okay.
Yes, you can
For
when you go to
Windows and Mac or just Windows?
Windows and Mac. So you
Awesome.
just
Okay.
download. So if you go to download free trial up on top or any one of
Yep.
those buttons,
Yep.
then you'll see you can go choose what you want to download. Now, because it has its own AI models, you're downloading quite a bit of stuff. It's about 3.5 gigabytes of
Yeah.
model. And then once you activate the license, you have a 7-day free trial.
Gotcha.
And there's no
Cool.
charge if you just cancel before that 7 days. And you can play around with it, try it out. Now, this is the standard version. In another month and a half, we'll have the pro version, which will basically allow you to connect it to a workflow. So, for
Okay.
instance,
Okay.
you'll be able to interface into it with like command line interface so that if you have a little agent you built, it can talk
Yep.
to it. But it always guarantees that any information coming in does never goes out to another agent unless it's been de-identified. So there are
Gotcha.
guardrails so you can't mess it up. But for instance, if you're using Claude, you'll be able to, since it has an MCP interface in that
Okay.
version, you'll be able to install a plugin and then once it's downloaded and then activate it. And so you can say things like, okay, look at this folder and tell me if there's going to be any HIPAA violations if I upload it. That kind of interface. That'll be in the pro version.
So if I'm using Claude, there's an MCP connector that allows Claude to connect to it. But isn't anything you're asking Claude with regards to that folder that document's sitting in, isn't that going to go to the cloud or not yet?
No, so what happens is Claude will notice there's a tool for looking at the
Hmm.
personal information. So it will use the tool,
Got it.
a skill, and then that will go ahead and do the information, but nothing will be passed back to Claude that has
Okay.
any personal information in it.
Got it.
Then uh, it only passes back numbers and information like that. Anything that's a file, for instance, even with de-identified stuff, is put on your laptop, right? And then
And then you can do it
you can do
yourself.
all
You
that,
can upload.
summarize it, but it's only on your laptop, so it doesn't go anywhere.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you for thinking that out. That
Yeah,
part, because the agent autonomous, tools that we can do now with these AI it's amazing. So much time can be saved. I mean, I use Claude sometimes it's doing, multiple projects for me for hours on end with, thousands of files. And so to do things, manually anymore is still 2024. So,
yeah. So you'll be able to set up like a command line interface and
yeah.
say, okay, I'm going to set it up. Just look through all these 2,000 files
Mhm.
overnight and tell
Yep.
me what you find. Right. So it'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
The thing we have to start worrying about, I just wrote an article on this, is that there's a growing gap between agentic AI and insurance companies. So a lot of insurance companies, all the major ones, are now putting in exclusion clauses for work that's done by agentic AI.
Yeah. I saw the article earlier. I had
Yeah.
not read it yet, but go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a problem. If you scan down, you can see all the insurance companies that are currently working on excluding. Yeah, there they are. These are all the major ones for business insurance. And if you have even like E&O, business insurance, and you'll have to check to see if things you did with agentic AI that created a problem are actually covered.
Hmm.
So this is another area nobody's really thinking about. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, you always are, and
yeah, well,
even with regards to my last article about Otter, right? You had been talking about that, months,
right,
probably a good year or so ago. So I always
right,
appreciate you for being on the front lines of this and kind of, you know, letting people know what to be thinking about.
yeah.
So, all
It's
right, Bob Bergman, thank you so much
oh,
for coming
absolutely.
on. And always happy to hear about your knowledge and all these things. So I'm going to put a blog post together about the Anomalyzer tool, and folks who are interested can check it out. But I appreciate you for coming on and demoing it, because I just want people to know that it exists and what it can do. All right. Absolutely. All right, everyone, take care, and check this episode out and all the other ones on edamapodcast.com. And we're actually merging it now to edamanetwork.com and the YouTube channel, so folks can check it out. All right, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.